Hey guys, it's time for Breakthrough with Coach Lou. Coming to you live from Accelerate Life University, XLR8Life.com. Coach Lou will help you break through anything that's stopping you. Are you ready to get the motivation, the energy, the life, and all the success you really want and deserve? With no further ado, here's Coach Lou.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Breakthrough with Lou. It is Monday morning, a couple minutes late. Yes, we had a couple little tech issues this morning. However, we are here, we are live, we are broadcasting, and it is time to rock. So, I got a question for you. What if you only had 90 days left? 90 days to live. Would you say, I'm good? I've done it all. Or would you freak out about all that you have not done, experienced, or become? Something tells me that my guess would be number 2 there. Okay? So let me tell you a little story this morning. It's a personal story. A few years back, and I don't even know what year it was now, but it was maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. I was having some dizziness. And I went in, they sent me into the ENT and did all these tests. And they're like, oh, no, it's not an ear, nose, and throat thing. It's, it's neurological. I'm like, ooh, that can't be real good. So they go and send me for a brain scan, the whole thing. And I'm like, it's all going to be good. We have no problems here. And boom, do the scan. And I get a call very quickly. Need to get back into a doctor. It showed you have a spot. Freak out, Those of you who know me know that Dad passed of a brain tumor, right? So this is crazy stuff. I'm like, oh, no, this is not the phone call you ever want to get. So I make the appointment, and I'm like waiting. I get there, and I get in, and I get this super doctor because I wasn't going to just the regular one. This is like the advanced if something's wrong. And she's looking at it, and I'm like scared to death. And I'm in this panic that, I could be running out of time. This might be it. This might be over with. I'm doing the research. It's supposed to be by the pituitary. Well, it could just be a pituitary tumor. And then they go in through your nose and pull it out. I'm like, ay. Oh my God, this is insanity, okay? So I'm freaking the flip out thinking, oh my God, what if this is it? Okay, and she's looking at the scan, and she's looking, and we're talking, and she throws it down and goes, no, stop right here. She goes, I'm going to order another scan at this place, in Winter Park, and they have this Tesla machine, which is the better machine. And she goes, something just doesn't sit right here. And I'm like, okay, glimmer of hope. And so I'm like, can I do it right now? And she's like, well, let's call over. And she got me set up for like the next day. She started it. I go over, and I'm like, they're real nice there. I had to cash pay for the scan because it wasn't on my insurance. But hey, you know what? They're talking about like snipping shit in my brain and stuff. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm in there and I'm like, okay, so I'm all good. And they're like, yeah, we can't tell you. Okay, great. Here we go again. I go from that. All right, it's probably going to be good to, oh, shoot, something's wrong. So I call up her office. I'm like, how soon can I get back in there? And she fast-tracked me in, get back in, and she goes, there's nothing there. Now, I went from panicking that I'm running out of time, this could be the end, regrets, to feeling like, oh my God, I got a whole second shot at life. This is like a renewed belief that, I still got a life ahead of me. It was an amazing feeling. What was the difference? The difference is how I approached it, how I looked at it. Okay? And that was really crazy because it was like, you go from one extreme to the other and it's like, oh, wow. Well, what if today is your second shot at life? What if you're not being told you got 90 days to live or 90 days, and then you go to prison or whatever? What if Today is your day to start treating life like you have a second shot. Okay? So most people in life, they say someday, tomorrow, when this, when the economy, when the president, when the this, when the that, when, and they sit there in neutral or going backwards. Worse than that is when you hear somebody say that this is the death rattle for life and success. That's just not in the cards for me, or that's not for people like me. What? What's not in the cards? Okay? Tomorrow, etc., when this, when that is a bunch of BBS. Bad belief system, guys. Or you could go out for it is bad bullshit, right? So just saying. But the truth of the matter is, anyone can do, be, or have anything they want if they're willing to go for it, okay? You got to be willing to put in the effort, willing to put in the work. You see the medals back here? That didn't come from oming in a corner and visualizing. Yeah, I did some visualizing and doing some of those races because they were tough. That's why it says unbreakable, okay? They were tough. It was hard. There was training. There was work involved. But the reality of it is that I didn't go buy those. I didn't wish for them or say that's for other people. Let me tell you something. A little story, and this wasn't planned for today. Out on one of the courses, and it was a rough course, and I don't remember which race it was, but I remember there was this really heavy-set gal out there, and I was like, kudos to her for trying to do this race. I'm assuming she's trying to do it. Okay. And I'm like, but you got to start somewhere. She gets out there and, and she's obviously the largest person on the course, and anybody who's going, oh, sounds judgmental, too damn bad. The girl was huge. Okay. You would not have pictured somebody in her condition to be on a race course. But I gave her a lot of credit. It wasn't like, oh, why are you doing this? I'm like, damn, that's a good, she's pushing herself. That's a good thing. Well, she hit the ropes and scaled those damn ropes better than most guys, half her size, half the weight, and twice the strength. And I was like, dang, that is amazing. She didn't do that by just going, oh, I'm not that kind of person. She did that by going, you know what, I might have this extra body weight on me, but I'm going to take it off and I'm going to get out here and I'm going to give my all. That girl through the whole race gave her all more than most people that had more of a natural, healthier body going in. So there it goes. If you're willing to go for it, you can get it no matter what. And that was living proof. Okay, and I'm sure she was on the beginning of a weight loss journey, but holy moly, this girl kicked absolute butt on the course, and kudos to her. I don't know who she was, but our whole team was like, oh my God, wow, step up, guys. We're ahead in our journey, and are we putting in that kind of blood guts effort? It was a learning lesson. So first thing is, you got to believe. You got to believe you can do it. Have it, be it. If you never believe it, you're not going to get off the couch and do anything anyway, right? Okay. So second, you got to give it a go, as I say. Win, lose, or draw, you got to just learn and grow and go again. If you fall down and you don't make it the first time, get up and do it again. Learn, grow, do it again. Keep going. Every time you're going to get better. Okay? There are countless numbers of people who have had zero opportunity, no skills, or no trust fund who have skyrocketed their lives to the top of the world. They adopted these beliefs and went at it hard, and as hard as they want to breathe. If you go at something as much as you want to take your next breath, you're going to go after it. Imagine holding your breath. At some point, you're going to want to breathe more than anything. Well, imagine feeling that way about your goals. You're going to go after it. Ooh, goals. We're going to talk about goals. The G word. You're going to be like, oh, no, not another goal setting type thing. No, I got a little secret for you today. It's going to absolutely blast some traditional beliefs. Okay? So we have the people that go for it. And then we have the people that have had all the opportunity in the world. And they have every BBS excuse set up to make excuses why not. Well, my parents this, or, that, or, trust fund baby, can't stay in shape, can't stay off drugs. Seriously? Okay. You probably were raised better than that, but just saying. But, the truth is, then you get somebody born in the worst of conditions and they don't do drugs and they step up and they build something of themselves. Now, I'm not saying that you got to have a horrible upbringing to succeed. Sometimes that really fuels it. And I'm not saying that people that come from a good family with that were successful are going to be losers. Okay? Or the other way around. It's neither or, but what I am saying is it's amazing that some of the trust fund babies can't get out of their own way, and then somebody who was born in the worst of conditions is on top of it. How about you and I? Maybe we weren't exactly in either. I don't think anybody had an easy childhood. Maybe somebody did, but I don't think anybody came from the picture-perfect family. I'm sure I can say I didn't, and things were not great growing up. Okay, maybe a little tough. I was on my own young, whatever. I could say, I didn't get a good start and I had to take care of it. No, it was the best experience in the world. Stepping up 16 years old on your own, doing your thing. Okay, win, lose, or draw. Not always making the right decision, not always making the wrong decision, but one thing was for sure. Another quick story for you. I remember sitting there with a buddy of mine and we were playing video games, and he says to me, he goes, so, why do you work so hard? Because I'm like, dude, you got to go. I got to go to work. I got to work overnight. And why do you work so hard? I just go to the mailbox and get a check. Now, this is like a 40-year-old human being that's, should be a grown adult and productive. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, he said, well, I just go to the mailbox and get the check and party and play video games. And, I'm on welfare. Why do you work so hard? And I said, well, because I think the difference here is in 5 years, you're going to still live in this neighborhood. I'm going to be long gone. And truth be, it was less than 5 years. But, that was an eye-opener too. And, good old Henry Ford said it best. Okay. What did he say? He said, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. That's where it starts, with the thinking. Okay. But there's more to it. You don't just think your way into stuff, but you got to think first. You got to believe. Okay. What's the real difference between those who win and lose? Okay. Those that try and go and step into it and run, as opposed to those that never begin. They never leave the finish line. They might philosophize. They might be the ones that over a cup of coffee are going to change the world. Life boost, baby. But seriously, you've all seen it. These kids sitting around coffee shops, or even grown adults sitting around coffee shops talking about, kumbaya and everything else, and share the land. And, all right, if you want to share your land, you got to go get some land. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with helping others and loving on others and fostering community. But you got to get off the starting line. If you want to, some people are like, oh, we should build buildings to house the homeless and this. Who's we? You want to do that? That's very commendable. What a good idea. Go buy a damn building and do it. Well, somebody, you don't want to do the work. You just want to have the philosophy and think that, someone else is going to pay for it. No, you want to house homeless people in a building? Go build a building. You want to help children that don't have good, clean drinking water in another country? Make some money and go over there and build, things to distill the water. Don't sit there and say someone should. Go do something about it. You got to get off the finish line. Okay, and I'm not knocking people who like to do world help and everything else. That's very commendable, but you got to do it. You can't sit there and talk about how someone should. Get your ass off the couch and go do it. Okay? So the truth of the matter is, it's not money, opportunity, education, what race, gender, or IQ you are. that determines your outcome and your success. There are people that will use any piece of that for an excuse why they're not succeeding. It's real easy to jump into the excuse, oh, I don't have any money. I don't have an equal opportunity. I didn't get an education. I'm this race, or I'm this gender, or I'm not that smart. As an excuse, why not? But amazingly enough, when people are succeeding and they get off the start line, they don't sit there and go, oh, it's because I was born with money and I had great opportunity and I've had a great education and my race is this and my gender is this and my IQ is this and that's why I'm successful. No, they get successful because they stepped into it. Okay? Don't let these excuses get you. Now, some people say, well, you ignore the fact that there's been injustices and inequalities at times in life. Sure, that's part of being a human being. Okay? You go to work each day, there's, inequalities in the workplace. But usually if you're one of the best, you're going to succeed in your workplace. Might be that you get a little bit of pushback because of X, Y, Z. Well, prove them wrong. Okay? But you want to know the truth? You want to know what it all boils down to? And this came to me 2 nights ago as I was going to bed, of course. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll write this down. And I'm like, no, I will not write it down in the morning. I got back out of bed, put it in my notes, because I could have forgotten part or all of this absolutely phenomenal tool. This tool is called gripe. And you're like, didn't you just say not to kind of gripe and complain about stuff and to take action, Lou? WTF, Lou? What's going on here? Yeah, gripe. Okay, the minute you start to gripe about your circumstances, like complain, gripe it out. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, I got an acronym for you that's going to set it up here. And something that's going to bust some myths. Okay, G and R for goal and result. Okay, a lot of times people have thought, and even I've taught, that your goal, result are kind of interchangeable, should be considered the same thing. Oftentimes I say the goal is, not as important as quote unquote the result. Because have you ever hit a goal and not been fulfilled or satisfied? Okay, because getting a goal doesn't mean that you're going to be satisfied or you're going to be, fulfilled from it. Sometimes you hit it and go, is this all there is? Okay, so getting the result there, I have subdivided this to make sure that when you hit the goal, you're also fulfilled. What do you mean? Well, goal is kind of a thing. A result is kind of an emotion or a feeling, is for the purpose of what we're doing here. Really granulating it down here. So if your goal is to go on vacation this year, yay, me too. God, please, I need a few days. The result is to have an amazing time with your spouse or family. You see, you may go on vacation, but if you don't enjoy it, you got the goal, but you didn't get the result. Hear me on this. Goal, result. Goal, go on vacation. Result you're really after is to have an amazing time with your spouse or your family, make memories. They are not exactly the same thing. The goal is kind of the vehicle to the result. They're two halves to the same thing. They're not two separate things. This is very deep, guys. This is a very overlooked part of success. Hit the goal. Okay, what did that give you? Well, I made $1 million. Are you any happier? No. Or, yes, I'm ecstatic because now we can do this amazing thing, or I can help someone, or I can do this. You see the difference? I made $1 million. Okay. I made $1 million so I can build a school for kids that couldn't go to school before. I made $1 million so I could have the home of my dreams. I made $1 million so I can help my family member have a surgery that's going to save their life. I don't know what your reason might be, but you see the difference there? This is exciting stuff, guys. I'm telling you, if you made it this far into the show this morning, give me some comments on this. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is important stuff, okay? So we got G and R. We got I is for intention. Why are you wanting this? Okay, so I and Y, you could spell gripe with a Y. And I might change that acronym to gripe, because really it is about your why. More important than the what is the why. Okay, this is what'll drive you way beyond the what or the goal/result. Remember, the goal and result could be exactly the same, but they are usually not an exact mirror. It's an extension of each other. But your why are you going to do this? I want to make $1 million. And it's easy to use stuff, like financial for these examples. I want to make $1 million. Why? Well, because I want to have 1 million pieces of paper with the president's face on it. Well, it's not really that exciting. Okay, why? Because I can have the home of my dreams. I can retire my mom, who has worked 3 jobs for however long. My mom's gone, so I'm using it as an example. You might have, but or I can, my spouse has been working so many years and so hard, and they thought they couldn't retire. If I do this, I can give them the ability to retire. I can help my kid go to school. Whatever it is, your why, your I, your intention, or your why. WHY, or I usually use just the letter Y. Okay, this will keep you going. Okay, would you swim across a lake full of gators just because? Maybe not. If your child fell in that water, would you swim across a lake of gators to go save your child? I think your why would be a little different. And if you don't see that, we got a problem. You need some help. Okay, but you see what I'm talking about here. P is for plan. You need a plan, a map, a GPS of how to get to the goal. Okay, that goal that leads to the result. Okay, without a plan, you're guaranteed to fail or get little or no results. You cannot get somewhere that you don't know where you're going. When you were a kid, when I was a kid and I wanted to ride over to my girlfriend's house and go see her on my bicycle, okay, I knew where to go. I had a map of how to get there and how not to get seen pulling up the driveway. But just saying, you knew where to go. It wasn't like I got on the bicycle and just started riding in some general direction. Chances are I wouldn't have gotten there. Okay? You see the point? The point is you need to have the plan, the map, the GPS. Now a map, I'm going to give you a quick little tidbit here because we're going to run overtime this morning. The map is a mass action plan that you're mapping out, you're planning. GPS is something I use as a reference, but a GPS is like taking a course or having somebody else coach you through that has done this before, that speeds it up. So that's the difference between the mass plan and the GPS, quote unquote, what I refer to when we're training and teaching. Okay, now E is for execute. Yes, once you have it all defined, know why, planned, you got to take action, you got to leave the starting line, you got to push the accelerator. This is where the rubber meets the road, the rocket leaves the ground, the train leaves the station, and you could go on and on with analogies. However you want to call it, this is where your plan comes to life. Will you F up along the way? Make the wrong turn occasionally? Yes. Okay? If it is, and this is a hard one to swallow, okay? This is where you learn and adjust and get better and stronger, okay? So if you happen to go off course, adjust, get back on, take action, harder action even, okay? That'll help you succeed as opposed to those people that come to a stop sign and not realize that you should acknowledge a stop sign. Please, people, learn to stop for stop signs before you kill somebody. But the thing is after you stop for the stop sign and it's clear, you have to push the accelerator and go, or else you're going to live the rest of your life at that stop sign. And we've seen people on the highway do stupid stuff like this. It's like, I know the rent was, or the light was red, but hello, it's green now. Can you go? Okay, you see my point? Yeah. So it sounds silly, guys, but how many people do you know who do that in life? Worse than that? Can you think of a time or two, and maybe you've done this yourself? Of course you can. I can, you can. If we were to sit there and say that we've never done this ourselves, you would literally be lying, okay? We all have, okay? And we all will. But the thing is you gotta have those times where you stomp the accelerator and go? Have you done that? Have you had a time where you're like, oh yeah? Have you ever done something and gone, oh my God, yeah, I really knuckled down and got that done, did that 90-day sprint, knocked off that 10, 20 pounds, 100 pounds is in some people's cases, made that money, got that job, got that girl, got that guy, whatever it is. Okay, sounds easy, right? Well, it is. Doesn't mean effortless, but it's easy if you take and use griping and turn it into gripe. Take griping and turn it into gripe. All right, guys, listen up. Coach Lou Inner Circle is a place to take your life to the next level. Love it. It's one of my flagships. We do monthly live meetings, monthly trainings. You have access to all kinds of resources, a community to grow together, so you don't have to go it alone, and it doesn't break the bank to be a piece of it. So check it out at Coach Lou, COACH-LEW.com. Check it out. Okay, so that's going to help keep you on track, get you on track, teach you in an environment like this, but even better, where you can interact. Okay, now what if you need a major jump start and really need help with planning or accountability? What if you just can't even figure out where to begin? What if you're stuck? What if you're in a dark place? Get some coaching with me one-on-one. We can do it on Zoom, however it takes, okay? We'll get you moving, okay? Never thought I would say this, but isn't it time for you to gripe a little bit? Yeah. One more thing. I mentioned Life Boost coffee earlier. This is my choice for organic, clean, and the most delicious coffee ever. Use my link below, guys. I'll put the links in and in the comments, and you can find them on our sites too. Definitely jump in, get yourself some Life Boost. It helps support the channel a little bit and keeps you healthy. And I like coffee. I'm a coffee snob. So check it out. All right. So let me ask you a question. What if you treated your next 90 days like it was your last 90? Like that's all you had? How different would life look at the end of that 90 days if you really dug in and started living to your full potential? Okay? So when is now the time to design a 90-day sprint with gripe? How about today? Guys, live with faith, energy, passion. Always live your dreams. Have an absolutely amazing day. I'll see you guys on the next roundabout. Ciao for now.
Ready to take it to the next level? Tune in to XLR8Life.com for our live shows, encore presentations, life-changing courses, and live coaching with Coach Lou himself. As Coach Lou always says, live with faith, energy, love, passion, and always live your dreams.